improving is my superpower. I call it moving the whole product forward. So like the whole product being my life. Successful people, they don't just do their job, they're also interested in personal development, becoming more intelligent, becoming more empathetic. I think that pretty much if you wanted to know who I am as a person, you have only to listen to my music.
Greetings and welcome to the Double I Chambers, more professionally known as the Renaissance Reflections Chambers. And you're tuning in today for an episode of the Renaissance Reflection Conversations with Juda X, where I connect with exceptional individuals who've attained some level of success in their spaces and take an introspective journey down memory lane for them to provide some context of how they got that from the start to their finish. Today, we have a very special guest. I could definitely say I'm in the presence of greatness without a doubt. Very multifaceted individual. You can call him a poet, you can call him an artist, you can call him an arts educator, you can call him a musician. These are just a few of his many talents. And I'm very proud and honored to have my bro on the platform today, Patrick Walters.
Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Man, it's definitely my pleasure, bro. You know, usually for me, when things are in the early stages, to have you involved is usually a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So I have exceptional expectations for what's going to happen here today. And I know you're going to provide some very insightful context for the people.
Absolutely.
And for myself, and provide the many gems as you usually do. Before we get into it, I'm just going to allow you to explain to the people who've never met you before, who is Patrick Walters?
So you introduced me quite well just now, I think. So I will take from what you said and say that I'm a poet and an arts educator and a creative person in general. I'm a learner, I'm a thinker of things, and I like to be involved where I can to provide value in many different spaces. So that's who I currently am, and I look forward to giving you a new intro tomorrow because it might be something else.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I feel like you far from your peak.
You're always growing.
Yeah.
I tell you all the time, sneak peek behind the camera, but I tell you all the time that improving is my superpower. Just always being able to go back to the next thing and see how I could have improved and do it better the next time. That's like one of the things that I pride myself on. So, yeah.
And you basically led us into the follow-up question, because I asked you just before, super insightful answer, and I love it. So I'm going to ask you again to repeat for the people. What is one word you think could encapsulate your very essence that is Patrick Walters?
Improvement. Constantly looking to do something new, something fresh, something better than before, and always looking to make an impact and say something important with my art or whatever the case may be that I'm working on. I like it to have some sort of value and relevance.
Do you have an improvement process framework in place, or is it sort of like freelance? So I give you an example where like you work out.
Yeah.
So I would assume you have like schedules and what you're going to do, things of that nature. So you could basically gauge your progress.
100%.
Do you have a metric like that for yourself personally and also for your art? Is it one thing?
I actually make no real differentiation in terms of the various aspects of my life. I like to think that my discipline in one area of my life improves and has a positive impact on discipline in other areas of my life. I think there's this idea that like folks who excel in one thing, they tend to like fall behind or whatever the case may be. But I think if you have discipline and you have like foundational principles across your life, then that actually will be the thing that helps you be more disciplined in all areas of your life. Successful people, they don't just do their jobs or become entrepreneurs or whatever the case may be. They're also interested in personal development, becoming more intelligent, becoming more empathetic, becoming more healthy, working out. Like there's all these various things that you can identify, markers basically that you can identify for folks who excel in their fields, in their various fields, and they kind of all share the same outlook and perspective on life.
That's a fact. Staying on your background, why using your actual name as a stage name? Why Patrick Walters as the stage name?
Because my work is my life and there's no real separation. Like I mentioned just now, I think that pretty much if you wanted to know who I am as a person, you have only to listen to my music. You have only to listen to my music. The rest of it is self-explanatory from there, in my opinion. Obviously, if you understand the metaphors and the bars and the similes, then yes, that's even a greater level of understanding that you will have. But the stories and the narratives that I choose to paint are purely my own in terms of like witnessing things, experiencing things in life, having perspectives, educating myself, learning about different points in history and stuff like that, and just becoming a more well-rounded individual in general. Like I said just now, helps me to become a better artist as well. So like the discipline that I have in working out 4 times a week or doing walking or whatever the case may be, that is actually helping me have more discipline as an artist to, write a certain amount or make sure that I'm still creating at all times and stuff like that. So I try my best to move that idea. I call it moving the whole product forward. So like the whole product being improving my life, improvement in every single aspect, not just becoming a better artist, but becoming a better, well-rounded person.
Coming from the place that we come from, St. Kitts, St. Kitts, sweetest place in the world. Why did you choose to pursue poetry as opposed to anything else under the sun, especially considering the fact that there was no, I would say, infrastructure for that at that time?
Before I realized that I could ever do it professionally as a career, I fell in love with the art of doing it. I realized I had a God-given talent and I had a good enough support system to actually keep me going and to put myself in a situation where like I could flourish and be encouraged, and my mom and dad were supportive. Actually, was telling you this story the other day of the first poem I ever wrote entitled The Earth, and it was in grade 4, and my teacher sat and she was like, oh shit, this is really good.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And I took it to my principal, and the principal was like, damn, okay, we got something to work with here. I think that kind of like spawned a little bit of fire inside me to be like, yo, this is something that I am pretty good at and I enjoy doing it, and I think that I have something to say here, so I might as well pursue it. And my mom and dad were like, you know, very supportive in that regard. So, and then shortly after that, well, I shouldn't say shortly after that, I continued to write and continue to share in different contexts in church, etc., etc. And then when I was in Fort Farm, I had the opportunity to go to Island Expressions. I think actually maybe even been Third Farm, I had the opportunity to go into Island Expressions.
When I die, donate my body to science. They can cut me open and extract the ink from my veins, the smile in my eyes and the inspiration in my feet and my hands. More difficult to exhume.
Which is the open mic show that used to run down at Mapa, I think. Started by Samuel Duggins. It was a really good learning ground for me to make mistakes, and like I said, which is a theme of today, is improve, get better. I did poems every month for a year on Island Expressions, and not all of it was perfect, but by the time I was done, I was pretty good.
Wow. What made you want to stay that consistent? Was it a decision that you made at the top of the year, or it just kind of happened?
No, it was a decision that I made at the top. Actually, a decision that I made at the end of the previous year. And I was like, next year, I'm going to do a poem or poems, multiple, even sometimes every month for the whole year. And I kind of made that my mission. Like I said, it was a good training ground for me to learn what good poetry was. And there was a lot of other good artists there as well. So I could kind of like, you know, learn from them as well and see what people were doing that were getting a response. I went to school for psychology. So I didn't actually plan to become a full-time artist until just about I was ready to leave school. University. And the opportunities started to become more available to me based off of what I was doing. So that's kind of how that worked out. But even before I realized that I could do it full time, it was always a passion.
You mentioned university, so I just want to understand that point really quickly.
Yep.
Why psychology?
I've always been interested in people and how they think and work. My second album was entitled Human Nature because I am fascinated by human nature. We see the wrong thing to do and still do it every day. That is so confounding but beautiful to me.
I mean, because realistically, what would childhood be without poor decisions?
Right. And learning from them or not learning from them, and being defined by them or not being defined by them. You know, that is human nature. And that's why I named that album that, because that album for me was like kind of explaining how I am as a person. There's very personal stories in there about my life. So I wanted to make sure that like I was the first person sharing, and then in so doing, ask people to also think about their own humanity in doing these things that we all do on a day-to-day basis.
Interesting. Do you set time aside to just think? I know for some people they meditate for like 30 minutes every day. Is that something that you also do as well?
To a certain degree, although I will admit I'm almost constantly thinking, and it is more important for me to schedule time when I'm not thinking, intentionally not thinking, versus worrying about scheduling my thinking time as much, because like for me, that's why I do mindfulness, like intentional mindfulness meditation for at least 20 minutes at 5-minute periods throughout the day. So like I might have 4 or 5 little 5-minute periods where I'm just like being present. I'm here. Because you know you're not gonna get like half an hour to just sit down and embrace the fact that you're alive and you're breathing. But you could do it for 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? You could even do it for like 3 minutes and then just chop it up throughout your day. So you're taking little breaks to kind of give your brain a rest. Because if you just go 110% for the whole time, you're gonna run into a situation where you're gassed by the end of the day, and you may not even be physically tired, but mentally you're gonna be done.
I mean, if you're done,
you're done. That's what you're done.
You're finished.
So that's really a thing for me where I'm like, yo, I gotta make sure that throughout the course of my day, I'm taking a little 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to just be like, I'm here, I'm living, I'm breathing. Give thanks. We move. I got a couple things to do, but yeah, I'm gonna be fine. Today's gonna be a good one. Let's just get it. And I'm just like focusing on breathing. I'm not even like having these thoughts consciously. I'm just realigning, just, simple.
And how instrumental you think that process is for you essentially maintaining being under constant pressure, because you juggle a whole bunch of different things, right?
Yeah. And I think that's like a good way to phrase it, like a tool that I use, because these are all tools that you refine and skills that you build over time, right? And when I was talking earlier about moving the whole product forward, it's like I want to make sure that I am taking care of my arts education career, my poetry career, my music career, recording artist, and also, I'm starting to sell merch. I have a Patreon that I want to improve upon and do more things with. Like, there's so many things that I'm interested in working on at any given day, on any given time, that if you don't take a second, it will just engulf your thoughts and you won't be able to even separate the issues, because I'm speaking from experience now too, where it's like in the past, when I wasn't able to do those things, I was just feeling overwhelmed constantly, which is not a good place, because that's actually like some people have the response of like going super, super, super duper hard, but my response was like, I can't do anything right now. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to begin, fam. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that was my kind of thing, and it was debilitating to a certain degree, and I had to like separate these things a bit more strategically. And I've had help along the way, different people, learning how to do those things. So it's like, there's a lot of different like tools that I've acquired over time to help me get to this point.
How did you even come to the realization that they're tools? Did you seek out, or did you have conversations? Did you stumble upon them? Because I think a lot of the times people don't, and me being one of them, don't know what's accessible, because it's not a general conversation that's usually happening. Like, hey, I'm having a challenging time at work now.
Yeah. What
skills do you use to, like, that's not a conversation that people usually have, even talking about the importance of still time, like you said, and understanding what still time is. So how did you become aware of these tools?
You and I talk about this all the time. It's like developing self-awareness, right? And I think I always say, like, if there was one first tool, it's the tool of self-awareness. Now you could be like, okay, how do we get self-awareness? And there's multiple ways in which you can build your self-awareness, become a more thoughtful person. But that actually is the first step in terms of where you're going to be moving forward, because you want to get to a situation where you're using your self-awareness to build the other areas of your life up. That's kind of how I would look at it. So gaining self-awareness first in terms of understanding your place in the world. But what self-awareness essentially means for me is like understanding your place in the world, the responsibility that you have as a person to every other person, and also like understanding what skills you have and what weaknesses you have. Because a lot of people just walk around not thinking about the things that they're good at and not thinking about the things that they're bad at. And they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again because they're not even aware of the things that are like constantly coming up as repetitive themes in their lives.
A concept I have about that is essentially you're focusing on the effect and not the root cause.
Yeah.
So it's like cutting the grass but not pulling up the weeds.
Right, and you're gonna just get more weeds. Just get more weeds, not the good ones.
You could count on them to come back without a doubt.
Right.
Millionaires, Juda States, tax-free savings, IRAs. Yeah. On paper, a simple wage, but they got business and business pays. And global wage sits at $1. You avoid jail if the crime is white collar. You avoid jail if the crime is white collar. Pity that I can't